Welcome to episode 9 of Fic and Fiction, a magical bookish podcast for chaotic story goblins like us. This week, we're going to be discussing all things Twilight, kicking off our 7-part series breaking down the infamous Twilight saga. In case you somehow missed it the past 20-something years, the Twilight Saga is an epic love story spanning 4 mainline books and 3 companion reads, detailing Bella Swan's move to Forks, Washington, where she meets a mysterious boy and finds out that the world we live in is more than what it seems. We've all given Twilight a reread, or in Emmy's case, a very first read-through, and I think maybe we should start there and discuss, what was our relationship to Twilight before this? So, starting with Emmy, as I've alluded to, what was your experience with the Twilight franchise before we started this buddy read?
So, I have seen all of the movies. I would like to put that out there, that I have watched every single one of them. Whenever I was young, my friend Naomi and I, we used to watch them religiously, over and over and over again. My mum did buy me those beautiful white paperback with red edges editions of the books as well. I think I might have read a quarter of one of them, and I don't think it was the first one, but I never read the full series. I mean, I knew what happened by this
Excellent.
point,
Yeah.
guys. I was I'm starting with this book. That's boring. I think it might have been the third one.
Wild place to start.
Exactly.
Right. So it's fine. But I like the movies. I was never one of those massive Twilight crazy fans. You know? I wasn't. Harry Potter was my thing. Twilight was a wee bit eh.
I definitely stood in line for the first movie at the theater and reread the books so much that I think the first one was kind of falling apart. So I started reading Twilight, I think at the end of high school. Pretty much I was in all of it. I was one of those girls. And one of the things, if people don't know, I actually was in a sorority for a little bit when I first started university. And one of the things my big and I bonded about was the fact that we were both into Twilight and we were both Team Edward girlies. So I was very much into it. Not in an ironic, there were some people even back then who were like, oh, I like it, but it's trashy and it's not good. Nope. I have always believed, I think Twilight is a good read. Is it, Pulitzer Prize worthy literature? No. Is it deeply problematic in a lot of ways? Yes, but it has a special sort of magic dust in it that you just can't get enough of, is how I feel about it. So I've always loved Twilight. And what about you, Molly?
Dust.
Hi, my name is Twilight. Hi, my name is Twilight. Hi, my name is Molly, and I was one of those Twilight obsessed girls that Emmy alluded to. I have a shrine. So yeah, no, I started reading them and watching them in middle school. I think I got into them just before New Moon came out. So my best friend's dad got us a copy of New Moon on release day in the cinema. I'm not gonna say how he managed that, but he did. So we watched the the midnight premiere of New Moon from their kitchen table. We sat in front of his computer and watched it. But after that, we went right. We went to the midnight premieres after that. But yeah, no, die-hard fan. My bedroom was covered in posters. I had Bella's bedding, t-shirts. I was obsessed. This was, yes, Emmy, Harry Potter was my thing, and it was my main thing, but Twilight was also neck and neck, and I was that crazy obsessed fangirl, and I was also and I still am Team Edward, but I was die-hard Team Edward. So
yeah, when I was younger, the Team Jacob people confused me, I think, actually. I was like, I don't get it. But now that I'm older, I'm like, yeah, they both suck, so Well, before we get to our Twilight impressions, how was our week, guys? How have we been doing? Because I know for me, it's been a little rough. So maybe let's start with somebody else. How is it going?
It's January, and I said it last time. It's very much like that time of the year when nothing is happening, and we feel like January is dragging on forever. And like, I'm not being very productive. Haven't got much done. Like next week is where like I have to kick my ass into gear because I go back to work the week after next. So I have to be productive. I have to do things. I have to get back to it. But right now, like up until like tomorrow, nothing is happening. I've just been like kicking back, chilling, like speaking with you guys. Like we're just chatting on the disc and getting nothing done. In the delusion that I'm being like, you know, really proactive with things, but in reality, just not.
We love a good delusion. So
Mm.
fully approve. Have you been reading a lot though?
Yeah. I mean, I'm on my 12th book of the year.
12.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Molly.
For the record, it is January 19th.
Yeah. So I'm on my 12th book of the
Molly.
year.
I'm not productive. I've only read 12 books. Okay.
Sure.
See, I feel like me reading isn't being productive though. I don't associate me reading with being productive because I know there's things that I need to be doing that aren't reading. So me finishing books to me makes me feel like I'm doing like fuck all, even though that's ridiculous because I'm doing something. It's just I feel guilty if I prioritize reading. It's happening, but I'm still doing it.
You're giving me like flashbacks to my therapy session this week. I feel like this is a conversation I had.
Hi. Just girly pops. But yeah. I'm just waiting for Next Storm, which comes out on Tuesday.
Yeah, that's the big thing right now, isn't it? Like, I feel like, I mean, I've been pretty productive this week. I've filmed 2 YouTube videos this week, so
Oh, that's excellent.
that's fine. I read a book. I'm obviously working full time. I bought Disney on Ice tickets.
Amazing.
I had some burgers this week.
I love that for you.
Yeah, I mean, we did do one thing productive this week, guys. We organized the fact that we're all going to meet in person in September.
We did.
That's very true. That's very
So
true.
excited.
We did plan a pod meetup that I'm very excited about. Yes. I say my week has been bad, but actually the week overall has been quite good, but of course my brain is very focused on what happened this morning, which, as I said, it is January 19th, and the TikTok ban has gone into place in the United States, and therefore I have lost access to my main TikTok account, which was created in the United States, even though I now live in France. So navigating that has been fun. And as we all know, I've been scrambling to create a Discord where some of our besties can find each other and help each other build their followings again. And it's been stressful. But good things have happened. We planned that meetup. I'm really, really excited about that. And I was really productive all week, even though I was a little bit under the weather. I can say, by the way, guys, that my throat does not hurt today. We have made
Yay!
Yes, finally.
I'm feeling better. So that's good. I'm just really stressed about the TikTok ban. I think a lot of people are. If anyone is unclear about where it's at, this will obviously come out a little bit late for the information, but if you are based in the US, if you make an Apple ID using a VPN, so it thinks you're in a different country and you set your country to a different country, be smart, use a fake address. It's fine. You can get the app store where you can re-download TikTok, and if you do that and make a new account, you could still use TikTok, but you have to rebuild. But we are hopeful that President Trump will create the stay so that we can get TikTok back in the meantime, and then hopefully Congress will push forth a bill to undo what has been done. But it's weird because all the videos are still in place. It's actually completely the opposite from what a lot of the news outlets were saying would happen. They were saying that Oracle would take away our videos, but what's actually happened is TikTok has blocked people from logging in, and they have blocked people from accessing the app if they downloaded it off the App Store from the US. But the accounts are still there. So like if you're outside of the US, you can still see everything. It's like very strange. It's like a ghost town. You can even message people that can't touch their accounts. It's very weird.
So if anything, like I feel like it would probably be a really good idea to go and like give all your like US friends like a shit ton of love on all their posts. So that way, when they do eventually get access, they'll have access to see just like love and support.
Yes.
That's so cute. I love that idea.
I actually think that's the best idea, especially because it will show people that you really care about their content, because we're so conditioned to just like and scroll. But if you go and leave a comment and say like, hey, I miss you, like people will know like, oh, that's a real one. That's somebody that like really cares about what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I will put a little plug here, which is that I am going to be like moving things over to my alternate account because I can't access my original account. So the tag on that is Crimson Reads Except Not. So go find me there. We'll put it in the description as well.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to Twilight, because yes, Twilight stays fun and unhinged no matter what's going on in the real world.
Yeah.
So, what are our first impressions? Like, I haven't reread in a long time. I don't know how long it's been since you reread, Molly.
The last time I reread was not in preparation. Well, I say not in preparation. I reread Twilight and I read Life and Death before Midnight Sun came out, when that was released a couple of years ago. And then I continued on with the series and just had the best time, to be honest. Like, it had been a while since I'd reread them. And it was so nostalgic, and it had so many good vibes. Like, I was one of the originals who read Midnight Sun when it was leaked as like a draft, and Stephanie Meyer had it on her website. So obviously we're not talking about Midnight Sun today, but getting a full book was like the biggest thing to happen. I was thrilled. Yeah. So that was the last time that I reread them in full. But it has been since then that I've like having picked them up. So rereading Twilight this time round, it was just something easy to fall into. And while we have said that, yes, Twilight is problematic, yes, there are things about it that make it, it's not, an award-winning piece of literature, but at the same time, it's just so easy and lovable to turn to that you can't help but love it, especially if it's something that you did have an attachment to growing up.
If you grew up with it, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. Like, I feel exactly the same. Definitely, I have some opinions that have changed over time, and I've been really plugged into the discourse the past couple of years. I follow Twilight Talks, Sarah, who's
love her.
So amazing and funny, and has like the best headcanons. So I'm 100% with you, but I want to know, as a first-time reader, how do you feel about it overall, Emmy?
See, it's weird, right? Because I've obviously I've said I've seen all the movies. I've seen them all multiple times. I was obsessed with the movies as a kid. The books, obviously, like, the films are not very different. It follows the same plot line, but like the characters and like the ages that they all are, and they seem and whatever, and the way that they act, down to like the actors that they pick. Like, when I read Twilight, it was very hard for me to picture Rob Pat saying some of the things that Book Edward comes out with. Certain things I'm like, ew, like, don't do that. Like, and also, like, the thing is like in the movies as well, Kristen Stewart is quite, as a person, you can tell that she's like, she thinks sometimes like mostly in a logical way, and that's just as she is as an actor as well.
Bella is not a
Book
logical person.
Bella is the whiniest, most irritating, non-logical motherfucker that I have ever read. What are you doing? It's like Feyre jumping out the window to her dad, except that's the entire book.
Yeah.
And then she cries
Yeah.
all the time. Why does she cry all the time?
She's
that's the whole
depressed.
Why?
This was a book for the angsty girlies. Like,
There's
were-
angst,
I was
and then
also
there's like,
crying all the time when I first started reading these
You
books.
think
so
she cries? You think she cries a
I
lot in
can't.
this book?
I know where you're going with that, and like,
why does she
Honey.
cry so much?
because she's like
depressed.
barely crying. Like,
Are you talking about how she goes to bed to
Hmm.
cry? She's in
She
a
doesn't need to
place.
be in bed. She cries all the time, always, everywhere.
I mean,
Also, what's like? It's not even that she's crying. It's just I feel like she's just very.
can I
Whiny
ask you a question?
in a
This is
way.
gonna sound like a pointed question, but I swear to God, it's not.
No, sure, go.
And I'm being so sincere. Did you wait? Okay, when you, she's what, 17? When
Yeah.
you were 17, did you not cry all the time?
No.
Oh my God, I was like only crying.
that
don't
in a
think-
nutshell is why you don't relate to her.
Yeah.
Because Bella is not the typical or like she's not like other girls, okay? She's not the quintessential teenager.
True.
She just isn't, and there's lots of reasons for that, but I think the main one is because she is so protected and like in her bubble.
Yeah.
And I think that's just because of the way that her character was written, but B, I also think that is because that is the ideal of what the teenager is supposed to be, where Stephanie Meyer grew up.
Yeah, also I will say
that's a really good thing actually with the where she grew up then, because like teenagers were just not like that where I'm from.
So the other thing about Bella Swan that is not depicted as well in the movies, I think, because the movie has made a choice. We'll talk about Charlie more in a bit. I have a question about that, but they made a choice with Charlie to make him a much more like independent, like sort of normal dad. In the books, he's very incompetent at what he's trying to do here, and
This man can't cook toast.
he can actually. He just lets Bella think he can't. And the thing that's interesting about Charlie is, well, not about Charlie, but about Bella, is that she has spent her whole life taking care of her mom, essentially. Like, she's never been a child.
Yeah.
I personally relate to that a lot because my mom had a lot of real and imagined health problems growing up, and so like I spent a lot of time caretaking as a kid, and Bella is so like ingrained in that in herself that she decides she's going to take care for Charlie even though he's lived alone for decades.
It
And
makes sense that you say that, because I suppose that makes more sense to why I don't relate to her, because like being like incredibly lucky, I grew up in like a very close-knit like mummy and daddy and sibling household where like I didn't have to do anything. I mean, like I didn't know how to use a washing machine until I moved here. Like to Scotland in 2021. Like I probably could figure it out. I just never had to.
Right.
And like I learned to cook more when I moved here, and I learned to do a load of adult things, but it wasn't because I never was taught. It was just that I didn't have to do that. And like maybe that's why I struggle to relate to Bella so much, because our upbringing was just incredibly different.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, don't get me wrong. You're totally right. She's super whiny.
She is
like her inner monologue is that way, and I think part of it is because she doesn't have relationships with adults or even friends, that like she doesn't seem to have any friends from Phoenix that she even thinks about, right? So like I think like she just doesn't have the human connections that would enable her to process and work through her feelings outside of herself, and so she's upset all the time because that's what it's like when you're like that. So
she is so isolated
Yeah.
from everything.
yeah.
And like
Yes.
Crimson just says, she doesn't have a support network. She is the support network. And she's going from a home where everything is familiar, like she's used to her role with her looking after her mum, and you know, her day-to-day life there, like she does this, she does that, it's very like A to B, and she has like a plan, and she's going to a completely different household with a man who, yes, is incompetent, but he's a stranger effectively.
Yeah.
She sees him over the summer, every other summer as a child. He's her dad, but he's a stranger, and she's trying to adjust. So yeah, she's emotional. Like even though she has this role as a support for her parents and being this strength and being this, you know, little adult, should we say, like her mum says throughout the series that she was born middle-aged. I mean, first of all, what kind of parent says that to a child? Second of all, like that is her personality. So when she's like switched out of it and sent somewhere else, sent somewhere else, she sends herself, she's put into a new position, she's going to be emotional about it. But it's not just us as readers who are noticing this girl is fucking weird, like she's not the typical teenager. Everyone else is pointing that out. Like Edward is drove to distinction by this guy. Is like, what is wrong with her? Like, is
literally, I mean,
she has no self-preservation.
Yeah, we'll talk about it so much more in Midnight Sun, but he even says it out loud to her all the time, like, you're nuts. Like, you're not normal. You are very strange. You have no sense of self-preservation. You are selfless in a way that becomes selfish.
He says it a lot, like, I have to be around to protect you. Like, don't die when I'm gone. Like, you know, like, don't set yourself on fire. Don't whatever. And, like, it gets to the point where he is almost like, if I leave her, she's literally going to die because she doesn't have, like, she doesn't protect herself in that way.
I mean,
The thing is, she doesn't.
Wrong.
Yeah, no, she's not wrong. And I feel like she just doesn't care about herself. Like, her self-worth is non-existent, so she does not care if she's the one that gets hurt or if she's the one that, you know, is subject to things, as long as the people she cares about are okay.
Yeah, and I do think, I mean, we'll see as we go through the read-through, but from my memory of the series, I don't think this is much of a spoiler, but the movies kind of make Bella out to be like her arc to be finding her own strength, right? But in the books, I didn't find it that way at all. I think in the books, it's a lot more about her destiny to become this thing. And she does that and pursues that to kind of the detriment of everybody around her all the time. And I don't think, like, I cannot say that I think this is a character who actually develops in a healthy way at all, or like she doesn't really grow. She becomes more stubborn and like stands up for herself more. But again, at the beginning, she does these things as like an attempt to make everyone around her happy, which is not great, but she also kind of swings too far in the other direction. Like she has Renesmee thinking that it's going to kill her, knowing how that's going to devastate Edward, and not thinking about what that future then looks like for Renesmee if it did. And like every action she takes in later books is pretty
questionable.
Like, yeah, it's like, I'm gonna do what I want because I want to become this thing. Like that's what it is. And it's just like, it's at first it's I want to become a vampire, and then it's I want to become a mom, and that's pretty much all she does. So like your criticisms are totally valid. Like I'm not saying they make a lot of sense in the beginning. Like I understand where Bella comes from, but I don't like the way she grew with it, because as someone who does identify with some of those things, I would like to think that I grew beyond them a little bit. And she, unfortunately, I don't think is going to do that.
Equally, though, can we talk about, despite her flaws as a character, she is so funny. And I feel like it's not portrayed at all in the film.
No.
But she is so funny. Like some of the things that she comes out with had me cackling, especially like now being an adult and being able to appreciate the things she says a bit more.
Yes. Like, it's, like, I feel like, so I do like Kristen Stewart's portrayal of Bella. Like, I like movie Bella, and I think Kristen Stewart herself is like a very funny person, actually, but it's a very different kind of humor. Like, book Bella's humor is one of the things that I think kept me drawn to the series, because she's so irreverent, and just like, some of the humor is really in the fact that she just doesn't think like everyone around her, but then some of the humor is literally just like, yeah, you're a big scary vampire, but I'm going to take the piss out of you anyway. Like,
That's the thing that got me, is like, what makes her humor so funny is Edward's reactions.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, we see the portrayal of Edward by Robert Pattinson in the film, and I feel like he is much more serious than Edward actually is in the book. Now, I'm not saying he's not serious, but Edward's got a bit of a sense of humor as well, and he kind of, goes along with it as well.
Yeah, it's not really portrayed as much like in the films, is it? Like, that's definitely something that I noticed. Like, in the films, it was very like,
I'm
no,
the bad
like,
guy.
you can't like me, like, I am an oaf, you can't love me. And in the books, he's like, haha, tee. And I'm like, he's like, you can't look after yourself, you've no self-worth, but like, I'm gonna let you do your thing. I'm gonna go along with it. I'm gonna insert myself into your happiness. And we're gonna fall in love, and it's gonna be a problem, but like, I'm gonna let it happen willingly.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Like, come on. You're supposed to be like, a little bit more
119 years
sensible.
old.
Yeah. Get a grip. He's also a walking ick, by the way. Book Edward. Makes me a bit nauseous.
wow.
That is a very strong statement.
Whew.
How so?
He just makes me nauseous. Like, I can't. And I wish I'd written down quotes, but there was multiple times where, like, I was reading and I just went, ugh. Like, don't say that. What are you doing?
So,
I just need you to know that teenage me hung on every single word that came out of that man's mouth.
If I read
Me
this at
too.
teenage time, I feel like I would have been the same. I would have been very much like, oh, he's so hot. But like, it's almost giving like, whenever there's like that one kid in your school that's like a bad like guy, and you're like, oh, he's so attractive, like I want to date him, like, oh, I shouldn't, whatever. But then now looking back, I'm like, ew, like, absolutely not. Like, that, why did you fancy that person? I get that vibes with Book Edward, because I used to like, I was obsessed with the movies. I never read the books. And like, but just like the things that come out of this man's mouth, I'm a wee bit like, stop it.
So the concept for Twilight, if you didn't know, came to Stephanie Meyer in a dream.
Yeah.
And Edward is based on Gerard Way.
Stop it. Really?
She's obsessed with My Chemical Romance. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a rumor, which is untrue, that Twilight was originally written as Gerard Way, as My Chemical Romance fan fiction. It was not, but she has said that parts of Gerard Way's personality are her inspiration for Edward, and that she's obsessed with My Chemical Romance. She's released like Twilight playlists that have My Chem on it. She's very like open about this. Her website is also the most unhinged place.
Yeah.
If anyone listening has not been to Stephanie Meyer's website, almost every unhinged thing she's ever posted is still there in the archives. Like, go look it up.
All of the removed, like, deleted chapters are there still. The New Moon ones especially, I highly recommend you go and have a look at those when we get to New Moon.
Oh, the clothes. She has like, she used to, we didn't have Pinterest back then, guys. You have to understand. So like, instead of making a mood board that she would share with her fans, she would just make blog posts where she would show like pictures of the clothes that she was writing about with these characters. And
Oh,
She has
wow.
very questionable fashion taste. Like if you read it and you're like, I don't know how that works, but yeah, I believe her. And then you look at it, you're like, oh no, she
Okay,
doesn't know what
so
she's doing. It's so funny.
this was actually one of the things that I wanted to touch on. So the clothing, in the Twilight books. So Twilight in particular, I feel like there are two like outfits that really kind of like make me question everything. So the first
Love a
one,
khaki skirt.
it does. So one of said outfits is the outfit she wears to meet his parents, and
Yeah.
there's a whole like inner monologue with it where she's like, there's no book that tells you what to do when you're meeting your vampire boyfriend's parents.
Oh,
So
yeah.
so so she decides naturally that the best thing to wear is a navy blue blouse. I can't remember if it's long sleeve, but it might be. But a navy blue blouse with a ankle length khaki denim skirt.
Okay, I have a real opinion about this that I need to get out there, which is
Yeah.
I think this was a mistake a bit on Stephanie Meyer's part because um in the Pacific Northwest, from my understanding from my friends who live in Portland and live in Seattle, I actually don't think that outfit was a crazy choice. However, it is a very crazy choice for a teenage girl from Phoenix, Arizona. But if you Google like Portland weddings, you will see outfits that look like that. So like,
See,
I kind of get where she was going, but like, why would she even own those clothes? It doesn't make sense.
the thing is, that I'm really curious to know is what Alice was thinking when Bella walks through the door wearing that absolute like train wreck of an outfit. Because we know that Alice is like a fashionista, right? She
First
is
of
She's
all,
all
the
about the
queen of
we
fashion.
don't need
shit.
to worry
Yeah.
about what Alice was thinking as she walked in the door. We need to think about what Alice was thinking when she picked the outfit, because Alice was already like planning out how this whole thing was going to go.
She's gonna set fire to everything that Bella owned.
Yeah, she's never going to let Bella dress herself
Yeah.
again. You know it. She's just sitting in her room, like not sleeping, doing whatever her and Jasper are doing, and all of a sudden the vision floods her mind, and she goes, "Oh, honey," like.
So I think the fuck not.
Yeah, she starts singing 2 octaves too high or whatever. Like.
Jasper's there just having like a existential crisis in the corner, like what the fuck's going on?
All the time, constantly.
Yeah.
Which wig do I wear today?
Now the second questionable outfit was the outfit that she wears on her date with Edward to the meadow, where they match unintentionally.
Yeah.
I'm calling bullshit on it being unintentional. But she wears a sleeveless white button-up collared shirt. Sleeveless.
Okay, wait.
That's the kind of thing your mum would wear with a brown sweater vest over the top.
Yeah, but what I
It's
think is
giving like cutesy educational Tumblr girl vibes.
okay.
doesn't
Firstly,
it?
I just need you to know that I don't know any American girl ever who would have worn a sleeveless button-up white shirt like that. Like, no, that would never happen. But when you say bullshit that it was unintentional, I also think that was Alice.
Yeah, it's 100% Alice.
Yeah, Alice is just
For a
dressing
laugh.
everybody all the time, and it's just like,
For a
haha, they're gonna
laugh.
match.
See,
You should wear this to your date.
See, it's
If
even
you
funnier.
can't tell, Alice is almost my favorite character. Like, I love her
Alice
so much.
It's even funnier when you consider Midnight Sun. Now, I'll give you a little bit of a spoiler here because I feel like it puts into perspective the outfit. So, Edward is terrified he's going to eat her, right?
That's like all he's thinking about, by the way.
Yeah.
So he asks his brothers to be within the vicinity of the meadow while they're having their date.
No,
So,
really?
Yeah.
All I can picture is Emmett and Jasper just laughing their tits off because they've
Giggling
come to the meadow in matching
Yes.
like church Sunday best outfits, and Edward is like running about the meadow like a fucking fool, going as if you could outrun me. And they're just in the corner, like, what the fuck, bro?
Yeah,
And that makes
like,
it
I
so
think
much
he's losing
better
it.
knowing that they're there in the background.
Oh, 100%. Especially when,
Oh,
you know, you
this
get
is
past
why
Twilight to the later books. Like, I know you see it in the films, but Emmett is so funny.
Emmett is hilarious.
Emmett is the ultimate himbo. He is the
Ugh.
OG himbo. And
In
his
fact,
relationship.
I get disappointed in himbos and romantasy books because they're often so like basic and vanilla.
Yeah.
Because most of them don't have Emmett's wit and Emmett's sense of humor, and so it's like if you don't meet Emmett's status, you're dead to me.
You're a disappointment. And
Yeah.
you just no. But I feel like, obviously, personally, in terms of the outfits choice, we all know that it's very on brand for modesty, isn't it? So
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
khaki ankle-length skirt, and we have to remember that
Never
there
forget the
are
Mormonism.
there are so many Mormon influences in this series. It gets kind of ridiculous, and some are more obvious, whereas others aren't. But those outfits, you'll see them on TLC. Let's just put it that way.
Oh yeah.
Sister
Sure.
Wives and
For
whatnot.
sure. So because we brought up Emmett, I do have a question that is really more related about the first film.
I know exactly where you're going with this.
Yeah, so for any listeners who missed this, because it is such a small detail, in the films, when we meet Emmett for the first time, they're in the lunchroom, and this is not happening in the books because vampires do not eat. But
Nope.
in the films, he's holding a bag of boiled eggs, like a dozen boiled eggs, for no apparent reason. And I guess I can see like the lore, of course, is that the actor just had them because he's a buff guy and had his own bag of boiled eggs, and Catherine Hardwicke was like, yes, keep holding those, do that, that's hilarious. And I think it makes sense that Book Emmett would be like, yeah, a guy that looks like me would have eggs for protein, like he would, right?
Gains and whatnot.
Yeah, but like this means that he has to refresh the eggs. He can't just keep eggs around, and especially because they have a very strong sense of smell.
He just buys eggs.
What do we think he's doing with these eggs?
See, it's funny you mentioned up the sense of smell, because they bring up how bad things smell in the books as well. Like, I'm pretty sure milk is brought up at one point of being like the worst thing ever. See, I like to think that because it's Emmett, he uses them to like devil egg people's cars.
I love that.
That's iconic.
So there's like two things that he could be doing. So think Gilmore Girls when Rory and Lorelai devil egg Jess's car. So that could be an option. But we could also go down the route of Kirk, and he's hiding them around the high school.
Like all around the town. Yeah.
Yeah, in places that no one will ever find, to just wreak havoc.
Is it Tyler that's like insistent on taking Bella to prom?
It is Tyler. Yeah.
Wouldn't it be so funny if while Edward is egging on Tyler because he thinks it's hilarious that Bella hates him so much, wouldn't it be so great if Emmett was also just like hiding deviled eggs in Tyler's house? And
I would die.
And oh my god.
That is iconic. Yeah.
And that's the reason that Tyler lost control of the car. Is because
the egg smell.
The eggs. Yeah.
The sudden stench of deviled eggs in his mother's car. Dumb.
Yeah.
I love it.
That sounds accurate. Yeah.
I think we solved it.
I feel like it's very on brand for the chaos. Yeah.
Yeah. 100.
But can you also just not like imagine, like, before he goes to school, Emmett is standing in the kitchen at the Cullen house, peeling the boiled egg shells off the eggs.
Esme's like, what are you doing, Emmett? Like, we could be giving this food to the needy and the poor, like to the soup kitchen. She's like, nah, I got plans for these eggs.
Fuck off, Mom, I want my royal eggs.
But also, I think canonically, she says that there's really no food in the house, that they'll have to get stuff for Bella. So, like, what if there is just like a whole bunch of eggs? Like, what if you opened the fridge and it's just literally
eggs.
Those are Emmett's eggs.
Yeah,
what if
and
there's
she's like
secret chickens, guys,
and she
in
like
the back
doesn't
garden?
mention the eggs because she doesn't want Bella to know how unhinged her brother-in-law is gonna be.
Either that or
What?
Emmett
Yeah,
and
secret
Rosalie
goblins.
have a secret refrigerator in their room and it's just full of Emmett's like revenge eggs.
Can we also talk about how messed up? Well, okay, this is a Breaking Dawn conversation, but it's kind of messed up that Edward and Bella get their own house later, but like everybody else still has to live in one house.
Do
You
they?
say that. No, but
Does
no.
this happen in the movies?
So they don't have to. Remember that they've all lived apart for like X amount of time,
Okay, that's true.
including Rosalie and Emmett, because they break houses.
Yeah, but so they
They've
just
like
haven't
knocked
been
down the
breaking
walls of
houses for like
houses.
2 years? Or are they like on the outs? Like, what's going on? I want the details. I want
Well,
everything.
you know, there's that assumption. Oh my god. So it's a Breaking Dawn chat, isn't it, though? But like,
Yeah, it
you know,
is.
after having to wait and remain abstinent for, you know, this horrifically long amount of time, that the lust between them builds up, and that when you're a vampire, it's especially, you know,
Yeah,
raunchy when you find your mate, and it's bad for a
Right.
while. And
right.
that is probably when, you know, Rosalie and Emmett go away and break houses and cause structural damage. Now, I feel that they're probably on like a warning from Esme and Carlisle, like, you can break the bed, but I swear to God, if you cause any structural damage to Esme's like meticulously architecturally designed house, you sleep in the garage.
Oh, but I sort of assume that the Cullen house is secretly all steel. Like, that it's actually
I mean,
built.
they do have the
Right.
shutters, don't they? But
Yeah, like I think
Yeah, that was another weird
I'm
thing.
thinking it's like concrete, like walls.
yeah, but concrete's not gonna like do anything. They could break concrete.
They could, but I think that they would have to be pretty feral to do so. So maybe it's like they
Is that
mostly
not
break
the
things
point?
on getaways. I don't know. We'll talk about it when we get to Breaking
Disturbed.
Dawn. But because we talked about horrific amounts of abstinence, which realistically, I think it's like less than 12 months that Bella overall spends with Edward before they eventually get married. So like, can we talk timeline?
Sorry?
Well, so let's talk timeline. That's my point. So one of the questions
Sorry?
I have is like, did you
Yeah.
guys notice how quick the relationship is moving in the books? Because certainly,
Yeah, in the first one, yeah.
yeah, because certainly something I did not notice as a teenager was how fast everything is going. But like, this book takes place over like a couple months.
Yeah. So canonically, she's
Hmm.
17 when she moves to Forks in the January. She turns
Yeah.
18 in the September during New Moon,
Mhm.
and then she's married and a vampire on her 19th birthday.
I did not make that connection.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because I think it was, to me, it's like, surely, in my brain, I was like, surely all of these things that happen across the books, like the constant, I don't know, enemies to battle is the easiest way to put it. This all happens like one after this. These poor guys don't get a break.
No.
No.
So they get married in the August after. So you've got January, she arrives, September's her birthday, Edward leaves, then it's October, November, December. And then he comes back at some point before before the end of the year, senior year, because they have to enroll back, and then they get married in the August after graduation. And then she has Renaissance and is turned 3 days before her 19th birthday.
Do you know what about the timings in the first book really baffled me? It was the switch. Like, within about 3 pages, it was, we can't be together where you can't be, and then all of a sudden it's I would die for you. I was like, whoa, calm
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah, he
breaks.
once Edward has made a decision,
Oh, it's
he
final.
he has zero subtlety. Like he's just he can't hide his feelings for shit. So he's just like, I'm in it now. Let's go. Like yeah.
Full speed ahead.
Fuck
Yeah.
it, we're in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get in the car.
It's literally, I mean, we'll obviously discuss so much more in Midnight Sun, but like he's literally like, I'm gonna eat her, I'm gonna eat her, I'm gonna eat her. I shouldn't eat her, I shouldn't eat her, I shouldn't eat her.
She's kind
I
of pretty.
kinda like her. I'm gonna eat her, I'm gonna eat her, I'm gonna eat her. And then as soon as he realizes that he's capable of not eating her, he's like, oh, I'm in love with her.
I'm gonna marry
I
this
want true
one.
love.
Yeah. But then I think this is actually yeah, I think it goes back to like Bella's character being very like already
Okie
thinks
dokie.
she's an adult and also like wants what she wants and doesn't want to hear anything anyone has to say about anything, because she is very like, once she has latched on to Edward, like once Edward has been like, okay, I'll be friends with you, she was immediately going to want to be a vampire always. Like she definitely like doesn't like
In
book
her head,
Bella.
she's like, this is the logical next step.
Yeah, like legitimately, I think they make it feel kind of more lighthearted in the movie, but in the book, when Edward's taking her to prom, she legitimately is like, maybe there is a special ceremony and I can get bit tonight. Like that is her. And
It's
she's
giving
only
cult.
known him. Like keep in mind, prom happens in the U.S. in usually April or May, and she moved to
3
Forks in
months.
January, and
She's
like,
very much
changed me.
like, it was interesting to me because I love that. So whenever she like moves and she like goes to the school for the first time and she like kind of gets inducted into like the friend group of like that who she sits with, but she's always like, she's very aware she's like an outsider, and I think her linking with Edward for the first time was very much like, oh shit, this is someone that like actually almost like sees me. So she was immediately like, you're gonna bite me and I'm gonna be with you forever, because this is her first opportunity of like
finding
connecting with someone. Yeah, she's like, I can't have anything ruin this. I'm gonna live forever. Please bite me.
Which is really shit because okay, it's a good segue into the fact that Bella's just a really shit friend. She's a really bad friend. And I'm not saying that, you know, Jessica isn't like the quintessential like, you know, bitchy teenager. I'm talking about like Angela. Like, I'm sorry. Angela is a delight. She is like the sweetest, and she would 100% be Bella's bestie, but Bella's like, no, there are pretty people in the corner. Like, those are my focus right now.
Yeah, and I also think bringing up the not feeling seen by anyone else is really interesting, right? Because I think two things about that. I think one, I actually think most of her peers do see her and actually have no problem with the fact that she's weird and different and want to accept her for that. But because she feels like they don't get it, she doesn't give them a chance. While she is so busy feeling like she isn't seen because they don't get her like intuitively, she doesn't bother to see them. She doesn't notice how nice Angela is until way late in the book, and it's like she's been like that the whole time.
And it's not like she doesn't even really appreciate her until like Eclipse, and then she even notices herself like, it's too late now. Like, great.
Yeah, and every time Bella helps her friends or like puts people together or anything like that, like it's all in service of what she wants. It's not really it's not, and she pats herself on the back because she's making other people happy, but it's like, oh look, I did this good thing while getting what I want.
Yeah. Which is, you know, also kind of felt, or not kind of felt, is definitely the case in regards to Jacob. Now, you know, I am not a Jacob fangirl. I think he is quite problematic, especially like going forward. But in the first book, he was just like a cute little teenager. Like, he was 15. He was a baby.
What is with that, by the way? That was, I think, one of the biggest shocks for me. was that I
yeah,
was like,
right.
he's 15.
well,
So
because they
he's
cast because they cast
he's
Taylor Lautner and he's hot, so it's like you
yeah.
forget this is a child.
So he was
Yeah.
15 in the first book, and it's noted in the first book that he's like, he kind of still looks like a baby, like he's got a baby face. In the second book he's 16, and that is like apparently free range then for some reason. But
Free range.
free range apparently.
Like he's a
And that's
chicken.
kind of, yeah, he's a chicken. Not a spring
Maybe that's
chicken
where
anymore.
Emmett gets his eggs from.
Oh yeah, he's got a good egg source.
He does on the inside. So where was I going with this? Fucking hell. So he's 15 in the first book, 16 in the second book, and it kind of moves on from there, and that's kind of where he starts getting problematic. Like, not that some of the things that he thinks aren't valid, but you know, there's he's got some issues he needs to sort out, which we'll get to. But in the first book, he's just a sweet guy who thinks this girl is really pretty, and he remembers her from when he was younger because his older sisters used to play with her when she visited Forks, and he's just like, oh, she's really pretty, like she's Charlie's daughter, she's new, she like probably needs a friend, like we'll be really nice to her. And she's just like, doesn't want to give him the time of day until she wants information.
I actually literally have in the notes, Jacob is literally baby, but in a statutory kind of way. Because it just gets so uncomfortable in New Moon, but we'll get there. But like, it was very striking to me because it's been a long time since I reread them. But yeah, he's so young and so innocent. So baby. He's so sweet and innocent and so adorable, but like in a like, and she's so kind of shitty about it. Like, it's like, I understand that we're talking about a time when cell phones were not popular, but she couldn't have like made a little bit of an effort. She literally just uses him for information constantly and doesn't make any effort to actually be friends with him in the first book. Yeah. It's so shitty.
Like, he's like telling her all these stories that obviously he thinks are just like nonsense. Like, his dad is just a superstitious old twat that's been like overly harsh about the new family, that the dad's a doctor, he seems to be doing something good for the community, you know, and his dad's just being ridiculous. But like, there's these old stories that like his dad is like, oh, these are like, this is why you should stay away from the colors, and Jacob's like, yeah, okay, right. But he's telling her all these stories, and she's like flirting with him and like batting her eyelashes and like curling her hair around her like finger, and he's just like, oh, she's pretty, like first crush vibes. And she's just
so
like,
cute. Yeah,
and she's just like, I need all this information because there's this boy.
I have another adults being incompetent point here, which is it's a little wild that Jacob's dad doesn't actually tell Charlie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like, he gets Jacob to go to like the prom, doesn't he? And is like, stay away from there. But like,
Jacob
won't go and tell his best pal.
Yeah.
Who was also the sheriff, my dad, or the cop, or whatever.
See, it's even funnier that he doesn't tell him when you find out in the Twilight Illustrated Guide that Charlie is actually related to Jacob, like way back. So one of Charlie's ancestors, actually married into the Quileute tribe. So he's technically like distant cousins with like Billy. So there is nothing that would hold Billy back from telling Charlie,
like family ties,
the chief of police, the person that's supposed to protect, you know, the town, that, you know, hey, these people are dangerous. Even if he doesn't tell like the exact like ins and outs of it, he could say something, but he doesn't.
I get that it's delicate, you know, like I get that like their treaty prevents them from outing them, but I also think with it being your best friend, with it being distant family, even without that, there's a way to make it clear that you have information you can't talk about that tells you that this is not a good person for your daughter to be around.
But let's not also forget that Billy is an elder in the tribe. Like, he's not the chief of the tribe, because that's Old Quill, but he is an elder. So he does have the ability and the rank to make these decisions. He just doesn't.
He just doesn't do it. And he should, by the way, be bringing this up. Like, the whole tribe should be talking about this, because this is a really big safety issue. Like, if Edward didn't have the ability that he does to not bite Bella, then, like, literally this would be, it's a huge problem. And it's just kind of interesting that the entire plot of the series is really held down by adults not paying attention or just not doing what they should do in the circumstances. It's very fascinating to me.
Yeah.
And I feel for the most part in Twilight, at least in Twilight, because we don't see Renee's like true character until later on, Charlie is the biggest perpetrator of being a really shitty adult.
Yeah, he really is.
Let alone parent. It's almost like some of the things he does are like weaponized incompetence.
It's
so
crazy.
Like you said, he's been living here alone most of his life. He knows how to do things. He's not completely incapable.
Yeah,
and
because
yet,
he wouldn't survive this long otherwise. And he's got a good job. Like, it's not like he's like, you know, like, how did he get that job?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
exactly. I mean, he puts metal in the microwave in Eclipse, and you're just like,
does he?
He does. He puts like a metal jar in the microwave. If this guy is really as incompetent as he's making out, he knows how to use a microwave, because, you know, that's how he's going to be heating up his food. He's not going to be putting metal in the microwave.
Well,
he can't use a microwave without let this guy have a gun.
I accidentally put metal in the microwave like a year ago.
Oh, I did it like last week with a spoon.
Yeah, like it happens. Whatever.
He's like, I wanted to make you pasta,
but I might have burnt the house down.
Burning the house down. I think
he was living on microwave meals, basically.
Yeah, so he should know how to use the microwave.
Yeah.
You'd think.
I think my biggest problem with Charlie, other than what happens in the future books, I mean just Twilight, is the fact that he is a cop, he is a chief of police, and he thinks it's perfectly acceptable to let his underage daughter leave in the middle of the night to drive to Phoenix alone. To go to a house that is empty. And he's like, yeah, okay. Obviously,
this seems
right. I can't do anything about this. What?
He is her parent. She is underage. He could be like, you know, sit your ass down. You're not going anywhere.
He's a cop. He can literally put handcuffs on her and put her in jail as a runaway. Like, he can do all kinds of things.
Yeah,
and he does her nothing.
Going, especially in a small town, they've got to have like a holding cell that's not going to put her with like the Gen Pop or whatever. Like, it's just
Gen Pop.
The Gen
Pop. It's called.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. Hi. I've had family members go to jail before. I know too much.
He was very much like, at no point he like was like, oh shit, like I am actually like your parental man. It makes me wonder, do we ever, because I don't know as much about this, do we ever get any flashbacks or anything through the books of what it was like for her to spend the summers with him?
No,
not really. Like, it seems pretty,
because I'm like, what was the vibe then? Was it very much a, you're here and I'm not looking after you, you're just here to see me? And then whenever she moved in, he really didn't click on that he was now like the parental guardian.
Well, I think that when she was little, it's kind of implied that he was extremely close with Billy at the time. And so I think she spent a lot of time actually on the Quileute reservation hanging out with the kids. Like, I think he spent a lot of time in more like collectivist places where he wouldn't have to do the work of like, it's like, we go do this and we have all these activities, and then during the week he goes to work, like, and she chills at home. She's been a latchkey kid, I think, most of her life.
But then she was like, I've had enough of this, I don't want to go to Forks anymore. So they'd go and meet up over the summer in California and go on like a holiday.
Yeah.
Ooh.
But that's
I think I
easier
missed
because
that.
you're staying in hotels and you're eating at diners and yeah, like
You don't have to use a microwave.
right.
It's insane to me, the contrast between Charlie as a parent and then, you know, the Cullens, like Carlisle and Esme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you don't see it too much, but I think you see it more in like Midnight Sun and Moving On. But Esme is like the quintessential mother.
Yeah.
She's
like-
very motherly. Like, I noticed that quite quickly. Like, in a
It's-
way that, like, she actually cares.
Yeah, you
It's
don't really
definitely
see that.
because of her backstory.
Yes.
Like, it's 100% because of her backstory. But she is more than just like Carlisle's wife, like the head of the coven. She views them as her children.
More
And she
than
treats
Carlisle
them.
does, really. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like her kids. Yeah.
And she treats them like they're her kids. So it's funny seeing
Go ahead, sorry.
her in that role, particularly with Bella, because she wants to look after Bella, because she can
Yeah.
see that Bella hasn't had someone to do that for her before.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually a really fascinating dynamic, I think, that Stephanie set up because Carlisle has changed all of them.
Mhm.
And throughout the Twilight universe, even though there's not really there's not necessarily a parent-child relationship when you change someone, there is always like a deep connection of some kind, right? With the exception of like psychopaths, like the person who changed Alice.
Mhm.
But in general, even if they're really evil people, they have like a big connection to the people that they change.
Yeah.
But Carlisle has that connection and that like I want to guide them and give them advice and shape who they are. But Esme automatically just loves people and wants to help them and
Yeah.
has that motherly vibe. Like it's kind of her superpower.
You get that from, like, the get-go as well.
Mhm.
Like, it's
Yeah.
obvious from, like, immediate.
It's
And
was it in, I can't remember whether it was I think it must have been said in Twilight, where Edward said to her, like, you know, Esme would be happy if you had webbed feet.
Yeah.
Like, because she was
just wants-
stressing that
Yes.
they wouldn't like her. And Edward's like, look, she's gonna love you just because you love
exist.
me and you
Yep.
That's
exist.
so wholesome.
Yeah.
It's so wholesome. And actually, I think it's really interesting because, like, we'll have plenty of opportunity to really dig into this topic later. But,
Mhm.
like, I think that Rosalie is a different side of the exact same coin because actually, all Rosalie wanted was a normal human life and to have a child and to be a
And
mom.
a family.
and
Yeah.
family. So it's kind of interesting that Rosalie ends up being kind of almost the opposite energy when really their goals were the same thing in life.
100%. Do we have any unhinged theories? Or do you subscribe to any unhinged theories surrounding the Twilight books, or the Twilight in particular? Or even just unhinged facts?
I think the silliest thing that I believe, because it's actually just a plot hole, but I like the theory that they're all wearing wigs all the time.
Yeah. I've seen that one.
Yeah.
I love the
But-
one that, like, when they have sex, they're supposed to sound like ceramic plates clinking off each other.
Oh, that's not a
Yeah.
theory. That's canon.
That's
real.
Is it
Canon.
canon? Is it, like,
Yeah.
mentioned?
They'll detail it.
Jesus.
They'll detail it later in the books, but it's canon.
Yeah.
They sound like
I'm so
stones going at each
disturbed.
other. Yep.
Ding!
Why?
Ding ding.
Yeah. What? Doing the dishes? Oh, yeah. They're just doing the dishes up the stairs. It's fine.
I actually think it's not so much like ceramic, it's more like rocks
Yeah.
against each other because they're described as very like marble like, but yeah.
I feel like ceramic is
Wow.
probably like apt for their teeth though.
Yes.
Like
Yes,
the clinking.
That's likely. Although I don't think we ever see an open mouth kiss the whole time.
No, which comes back to like the whole abstinence theme and the fact that it was, you know,
Like even when we
targeted
see
at younger people.
Well, even when we see what passes for smut in the in Breaking Dawn, we don't get open mouth kissing.
So we know that abstinence, we've spoken about it a couple of times, runs really deep in these books, and this book in particular. But I think it runs even deeper. So we know it's a vampire book, But have you guys noticed that the way that they describe bloodthirst in particular and the way it's portrayed is very similar to like sex?
Oh,
So
yeah.
whether or not it's an analogy
Yes.
for sex, particular in regards to, you know, being able to control.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So that
It's
was
definitely a metaphor, yeah.
it's 100% a metaphor.
I think that's actually very common in vampire stories too. Like vampire stories. So it's interesting what Stephanie did, right? Because I think vampire stories are often a way for women to fantasize about being sexual beings when they live in societies where they're not allowed to be, right? Because bloodlust feels very much like lust, and as a woman, as a human, you have no power, regardless of what the lore is, to really like not give in to it. And it's like the only scenario where a woman giving into something like that is sort of like allowed to happen in older fiction. And I think what's interesting about that is Stephanie sort of did the opposite, where she gave the vampire all of the control, and she gave, like, Bella's just kind of described as a horn dog like the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's like,
Oh,
you're
man.
dirty for wanting to screw your boyfriend, but he's so great because he can control his bloodlust and not kill you. Like, what?
Exactly.
It's
I'm saying
really-
nothing, guys. I'm just not even.
She's checked out. She's done. All right.
You know what? It's like, I think, like, I am very excited to see where I get with the other books in the series. Do you know what I mean? Like, I do, part of me is like, I want to keep reading. It's almost like more of a need
Mhm.
than anything, because reading Twilight has been a very different experience for me than I thought it would
Yeah.
be, coming
Right.
off the back of having seen the films. And I would like to know what happens, because I remember watching the movie of Breaking Dawn and being like, wow, this sex scene is like the best thing I've ever seen.
Woo!
I cannot
But I
wait.
was like really young-ish. When did that come out? What date did that movie come out?
2010, 2012.
Oh yeah, so I was like, if it was 2010, I was 12. So I was like between the ages. I was under 15.
Part
this was,
one
like-
Yeah.
was 2011 and part two was 2012.
Yeah.
When
It's like
this
13,
when this
14.
came out, I don't think I'd gotten a proper like phone, or like I never owned a laptop or anything. So I only started getting into fan fiction when I got my first iPhone, and I was 15.
Yeah, I had an iPod Touch, and that was what I was reading fanfics on.
See, I had an iPod Touch, but I
So-
still think I must have been about 15. Like, I don't think it was younger than
Being-
that.
I think I was like 12.
the elderly one in this group, I was 21 when this film came out, and I it's funny that you say that, because I remember wishing they showed a lot more in the movie.
Yeah, the two different vibes.
Yeah, very different vibes. But to be fair, I had been reading fanfic for a very long time by the time we got Twilight, and it is not like totally closed door in the book.
No.
So I thought maybe we'd get even a little more detail than what you get in the book, because you know, it is kind of a chaste imagining of smut, if you will, but it is interesting. Like, what happens is very like interesting, because it is like sort of violent and crazy, and like yeah, it's, I can't wait till we get there. But yeah, it's very funny that you were like, this is the end all be all of sex scenes, and I'm over here, 21-year-old me, like,
Needs
man,
more.
I wasn't raunchy enough.
It was just
On brand, I think. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so I have one last question before we go, because we do have to wrap up at some point. But I think this is a great way to maybe end it, which is, if we had to give Twilight a star rating right now, what would we give it? Emmy, I want to start with you.
part of me feels like maybe like a 3.75.
Oh, that's higher than I expected.
Because
Yeah,
it
me
wasn't
too.
it wasn't awful. This is the thing. It's like I had a very good time. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I thoroughly had like the funnest experience. Like, and from experience vibes, it would be like a 4-star book for me. And like for the different, it was interesting to see the differences between the films and the books. And like it's been interesting to see the characters. But at the same time, I'm also like the amount that like my body like shriveled, like at certain parts of that book, just being like, ugh, or like, oh, I don't why. Like whenever I feel like if I read this like 10 years ago, I would have been like 5-star. Immediately like amazing.
Right. Yeah.
But like for me now, it's I would say this one's about 3.75. Part of me feels though, like saying this now, I am going to predict that New Moon's a 2-star read. I bet you. I hated that movie.
Oh my god. Okay.
Despised. Dreadful.
Okay, there is a particular chapter that when you read it, I am gonna need your live reaction like so badly.
Okay.
I bet Molly knows which chapter it is too. But yeah.
Beginning, middle, or end?
I think it's like middle. No, I'll let you know when we get there. But
yeah, is it something that's not in the movie?
It's a particularly short chapter.
Yeah.
You know what it is.
Oh no. Okay, look up what chapter it is and tell me before we start reading, so I can like.
Oh no, you'll know when you get.
You'll know now that you've heard that. You'll definitely know. You'll know.
Oh right. Okay.
All right. Okay. So Emmy is a 3.75. Molly, where are you at? Star rating.
Are we talking like if I'd never read it before, or just what my rating is?
If you are speaking to someone else who has never read it before and you have to give them an honest rating and you can only say the star rating, what would you say?
4.25.
All right.
Ooh.
So it's not the best, not the worst.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good time.
All right.
It's fun time vibes.
I think I'm right between you guys. I'm 4 stars. Solid 4 stars. I think if you had asked me in 2008, whatever, 15 stars, give me 10 more. Like, I was obsessed, right? But now, knowing what we know now for 2025, yeah, like, there are parts that are going to give modern readers the ick, I think.
Now that we have this masterpiece right here, that is Midnight Sun.
Yeah,
hands down.
I mean, this thing. Yeah.
That thing right there. Yeah, no.
Mm-hmm.
I am very excited to pick that up. I won't lie.
I'm predicting that Midnight Sun is still going to be a 5-star read for me.
Me too.
Do you think my prediction will be higher or lower than Twilight?
I think you will have more fun.
Yeah.
Sure.
I don't know that you will love him more after.
No.
But I think you'll have fun.
Do I love him at all now?
Exactly. No, that's the point. It's like I feel like you're
like, I don't think it's gonna sell you on Edward, but I think you're gonna be like, that was a raucous good time. That was.
But meanwhile, I'm
like, what the fuck did I just read?
I'm like, Carlisle, give me 10 more.
Yes.
The Carlisle content in Midnight Sun. Excellent.
I just want like a Twilight reimagining where Carlisle is actually running like a drug empire, but he's justified why it's okay, and like they're all his little minions. Like, I think that's what I want. I'm sure it's out there.
I can get behind that.
I'm sure there's plenty of fanfic that's like that. We'll see. Anyway.
Excellent.
Right, well, I mean, I had a good time. I won't lie. Like, it was an interesting experience, but I enjoyed it. I am excited to continue with the series. I definitely would like to, because by the time you guys come and visit in September, my hope is that we're through most of it, if not all of it, by then.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah.
And I would really, really love to sit and maybe
Twilight Marathon
the movies.
Yes.
With you guys.
Oh, it'll be the right season.
What I know now.
It'll be the perfect season.
It'll be hoa season.
It will be hoa season.
Yes.
Amazing. We can have like a slumber party and marathon them all, and it'll be great.
Let's
Yeah.
make a plan for it.
I love
That
it.
sounds so fun. Because if I'm only like, if you guys do stay near me, and I'm only like a 5-minute walk around the corner, like
Yeah.
I can just come around and stay there, and we can have popcorn and be in our pajamas, and then I can just get Alex to come pick me up afterwards. It takes him like 2 minutes to drive there.
Yes.
Because I'm not
Amazing.
fucking walking home.
And
Pick
didn't
me
you
up.
say you have a bunch of those like American, there's like American snack stores or whatever?
We have like sweet shops and stuff.
Yes, if you want to spend like £1 million fucking pounds.
I do. So like I will go and get us all my favorite American movie snacks.
Amazing.
Okay, sure.
And then,
I think
yeah.
we have to go into the city center for that. So, but what we could do is
Oh, but
like,
I can do that in some downtime or whatever. Like it's fine. Like we'll figure it
yeah,
out.
you guys
You
will
can like
definitely
schedule it in the middle.
Yeah. You guys also will definitely like have some downtime without me because at some point my body's gonna go absolutely fucking not lie in bed all day.
Yeah,
Valid.
that's fine.
Bitch.
Totally fine. I'm probably
Nah.
like
Me
20
and
trips to
Crimson.
Waterstones anyway. So
Me and Crimson will go get takeout and be at your door like, right, it's time to watch some films. We'll join you.
That's so
Perfect.
cute. And Alex's parents here in the house would
Alex's
be like, who are these weirdos?
Hi, Alex's mum.
I
We're
don't
here
care.
to watch films with Ali.
Yeah.
Alex,
Move
get the
over.
fuck out the
Me,
bed.
Crimson, and Molly are all getting into our double bed up the stairs. Alex, you can just
Yeah.
sit downstairs.
Bye.
Three of us, like the three little pigs in the bed. Like,
It'd be like Charlie in the Chocolate Factory with the grandparents in the bed.
I'll bring a sleeping bag and like sit on the floor. I don't care. Like I'm a floor sitter anyway.
one of
Oh,
you
yeah.
can sit in my lovely chair.
Yeah,
Excellent.
perfect. See, we
Not
just
when I'm
solved
like
it.
molesting my like
We
purchase, but
just
sure,
solved
it's
it.
fine.
Perfect.
Excellent. We're done.
We're done. All right.
That.
Yeah, we've got to stop recording. We're at an hour 20.
Whoops.
Do you know what, guys? I'm excited to see what happens next in this series. I'm excited to see what like I'm glad I'm reading this now. Like I'm glad I'm not reading this as a kid. I'm actually almost glad I'm reading it now because it's almost like having someone out of the three of us that is reading it for the first time with an adult brain going
Yeah, like
in.
has a sober experience of it. Yeah.
Mm.
Mhm.
Whereas
It's
me and
interesting,
Crimson are
yeah.
just like
Already
fangirling in the
cracked out
corner,
on it.
like, oh
Yeah,
my
yeah, yeah.
goodness.
We're like, look at how great Edward is, and Emmy's like, he's giving me the ick.
Throw him in the
He
bin.
does. He gives me like you know those TikToks or whatever that you see when people are like weird things that like people say in books that like you wouldn't say in real life. Like he growled at you. I just imagine like Edward like snarling all the time. Like it just
Okay.
gives me anxiety. Like
I have a confession to make
Stop
about
it.
that, which is
Right.
I like when book characters do weird
I'm
things. in
down
books.
for the
I
growl.
love when they growl.
oh yeah.
I'm down
Down
for
for
it.
the garling, snarling, baring teeth. If Alex growled at me, I'd be like divorce.
Yeah.
Don't look at me ever again. It's like ew.
It's different when it's in a book.
Okay. Well, that it's been a very interesting experience talking to you guys about Twilight. I'm definitely excited for the next ones. But obviously we'll be picking up the next book soon. However, what are you guys planning to read this week?
Onyx Storm.
Oh God, yeah, right. Okay, that's fair enough. Crimson, are you going to finish Iron Flame on time?
I don't know. I'm gonna try, but here's the thing. It is 5:19 p.m. on January 19th. I have, I think, 300 pages left. And I also need to do some work today because I wasn't feeling well on Friday, but didn't take off
Yeah,
the
you've been
day.
sick.
So I need to do some things and catch up. So we will see. I'm gonna do my level best. But I will be buying Onyx Storm on the day and will be just reading, and shooting straight from Iron Flame to Onyx Storm as soon as I finish.
Mm.
And for you, Emmy, I assume you're going straight into Onyx Storm.
Oh yeah, like I palette cleansed myself with Wild Eyes by Elsie Silver the other day. I haven't picked up a single thing since. Part of me's like, I could start a book tonight when we do our little fun Discord sprints, and then I could finish it tomorrow, but I need it to be short, so I'm thinking picking up the next L. Kennedy book in the series, because I know that I'll get through that. But
Yeah,
I
do it.
am just kind of stopping for Onyx Storm. I'm hoping that I can I mean, I'll finish Onyx Storm within like 2 days. I bet you. Part of me's like, I really wish I could like read like a couple of chapters a day and then really drag it out. I'm not doing that. It's gonna be full throttle.
Remember, we start our Crown of Midnight read along tomorrow.
So we do. That's fun.
Yeah.
That excites me. I might read ahead a couple of days because of Onyx Storm's release.
Yeah.
Good plan.
I might just like get maybe like I might read until like Friday. Well, on Monday I might read like Mondays to Thursdays or something, so I can have Tuesday and Wednesday, Thursday solely for Onyx Storm.
Good plan.
But yeah.
But anyway, yes, I will be live sprinting this week. If you're listening and you followed me before on TikTok, please go to my alt account that'll be linked below and follow me there, because even if TikTok comes back, I'll be trying to swap the accounts so that my US account becomes the alt account and I don't have to care if it dies again, because we don't know what'll happen in the future. And
No, we
if
do
you
not.
are experiencing the TikTok ban, I am so sorry, and I am hoping and praying it gets better. So,
And on that note, thank you for listening to another episode of Fic Fiction. If you're looking for any of our socials, they are all linked in the description. Please come and join us on the other platforms because we have a lot of fun. And if you are in the Bookish community and you'd like access to a new Discord community that we are creating for readers, content creators, and just anyone who wants to babble about books, send us a message on one of our personal accounts or one of the Fic Fiction accounts.
awesome.
That's
And
it.
be prepared for chaos.
Yes. It is very true to our chaos so far, and we're very proud of that.
Yep.
Definitely. Have a lovely week, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.